What's good in the interwebs? Subscribers, Ted here. Welcome to Drama with Ted and Tina. I am your host, Ted, and we'll be behind the wheel today. Today's story isn't just about a marriage falling apart. It's about what happens when love turns to betrayal. Betrayal turns to madness, and madness gets behind the wheel of a car. I thought I found the perfect partner. Turns out, I married a woman who could make Greek tragedies look like romantic comedies. After years of fighting for our relationship, I walked in on her cheating, and that was just the opening act. What followed was a spiral of courtroom drama, attempted murder, and somehow a bookstore meet-cute that saved my life. Buckle up. This one has everything: heartbreak, revenge, hidden pregnancies, insane exes, adorable babies, and a hero who's way too decent for this world. Let's get into it. Part 1. The Marriage That Wasn't. Always thought I'd be a lurker forever, but life handed me a story so chaotic it practically wrote itself. I'm 36 now, and until recently, I was married to Carolyn, 35, 6 years of my life gone. We met through Instagram. She was funny, gorgeous, and seemed nothing like the chaos I grew up around. My childhood was filled with 3 a.m. screaming matches and flying dinner plates, so I scrutinized Carolyn hard. 2 years of watching how she handled waiters, stress, and money. Everything. She passed every test. Compassionate, patient, giving. I thought I had broken the cycle of marrying crazy. Spoiler alert, I hadn't. The wedding was gorgeous. We bought a cute suburban house and started what was supposed to be our forever. I had no clue I was about to swap childhood trauma for marital purgatory. 2 years in, it started. Blowout fights over dishes, work hours, her endless girls' nights, even TV shows. I worked overtime trying to fix it. She used to leave sweet notes in my lunch. Now she was shrieking about coffee brands like I kicked her dog. I begged for couples therapy. She agreed. Then cried through one session, accused the therapist of attacking her, and never went back. Carolyn's father had died around then, so I tried to be understanding. Big mistake. Grief doesn't excuse screaming matches that summon the cops over dry cleaning. We eventually downgraded from fights to silence, living like roommates who occasionally had pity sex. I still clung to the dream, idiot that I was. Thought with enough effort we could go back. Guess what part of the marriage vows I forgot? The forsaking all others one. I should have seen it. I really should have. Part 2. The Flowers on the Floor. At my boring mid-level corporate job, I wasn't important enough for first-class flights, but important enough to be sent on endless work trips. 3 days into a mind-numbing expo, a server crash emergency dragged me back home early. I decided to surprise Carolyn with flowers, champagne, and chocolates, the full rom-com package. Like a fool, I spent the entire Uber ride dreaming about a magical reunion. Her car was in the driveway. Music was blasting upstairs, 2 wine glasses sat in the sink, and for some reason my brain decided everything was normal. I marched up the stairs with my gifts, stupidly imagining a romantic afternoon. Then I opened the bedroom door. It was like every horror movie where you want to scream at the character to just leave. There she was, my wife, in our bed, under some random guy. The same bed where we planned a family, where we comforted each other through grief. She wasn't even pretending to care, not even trying to be discreet. The flowers slipped from my hand, scattering like dead memories across the carpet. The guy scrambled like he thought he could just waltz past me. Before I realized it, I had him by the throat, giving him 2 open-handed soap opera slaps. Not punches, slaps. Somehow that felt even more degrading. He glared at me like I was the intruder. Meanwhile, Carolyn fumbled with her bra in the mirror I installed for her last Christmas, acting like I was the problem for coming home unannounced. And then, the cherry on top, she actually had the nerve to look at me and snap, "Why are you even back?" Part 3. Needs, Excuses, and the Shattered Mirror. She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. Carolyn just stood there, smoothing her hair, muttering that I wasn't supposed to be back yet, like I'd ruined her day. Every good memory I had with her shattered right then, like those dead flowers on the carpet. I stood, frozen, wondering how many other men had been in our bed while I was at work, killing myself to give us a future. And Carolyn? She decided it was my fault. She screamed that I should have called first, like surprise visiting your wife was a crime. Then she dropped the real bomb. You refused an open relationship. 6 months ago, drunk and slurring, she'd floated the idea. I said no because monogamy actually means something to me. Apparently that was her green light to cheat anyway. Her justification was almost impressive in its insanity. I have needs, she wailed, as if breaking marriage vows was equivalent to breaking a diet. I stood there, fists clenched, every nerve screaming for revenge. For one terrible second I grabbed her shirt, the one I bought her last month for her birthday, wanting her to hurt like I did. But I stopped. I remembered the look my mother used to give my father during his worst moments. I let go. I would not become the monster she wanted. Carolyn wanted me to hit her. She wanted a black eye and a police report to weaponize against me in court. I wasn't giving her that satisfaction. She wasn't my wife anymore. She was just a stranger I used to love. Part 4. The documentation of betrayal. I grabbed my keys and my wallet and left that house like it was burning down, which, metaphorically, it was. I didn't yell, I didn't slam the door. I left her standing there, brushing her hair in the mirror like she hadn't just nuked our entire marriage over a random hookup. I ended up at my buddy Mark's place. Good guy, divorced himself, so he knew the drill. One look at my face and he pulled out the whiskey without asking. As I sat there, trying not to throw up from heartbreak and rage, Mark dropped the best advice I could have gotten. Document everything. Because Carolyn wasn't done. Oh no. Not even close. My phone started buzzing like a wasp nest had been kicked. Carolyn wasn't satisfied cheating. Now she wanted to win. She flooded my inbox with texts so vile they could have doubled as a horror novel. Descriptions of how much better her affair partner was in bed, size comparisons, performance reviews, even boasting about how she had to fake it with me for years. She texted me an actual manifesto about how I was inadequate, right after I caught her cheating. The mental gymnastics would have won her a gold medal. Mark kept yelling, "Screenshot it all," like a war general barking orders. Thank God I listened, because after she sent her filth, she started deleting the messages one by one. But she was too late. I had every last word saved, every admission, every insult, every inch of her downfall. Part 5. Lawyer up, Buttercup. Between swigs of whiskey and dead-eyed scrolling, I started hunting for divorce attorneys. Every billboard promised to fight for me, but most seemed better at fighting their lunch cravings. Finally, I found Lucas, a guy who didn't charge the price of a kidney and actually seemed to give a damn. I showed him the screenshots of Carolyn's text implosion and the bedroom photos. His grin could have powered a small town. Lucas was blunt. The judge might still lean toward awarding her alimony because she earned peanuts at her boutique job, but the adultery evidence gave us a shot at crushing it. First step, serve her divorce papers. Sounds easy, right? Not with Carolyn. She ducked the server like it was the Hunger Games, changed her work schedule, dodged doorbells, even had her mother lie about her moving to Florida. Real adult behavior. It took 3 weeks before the server caught her stumbling out of a yoga class. Apparently, inner peace didn't extend to legal responsibilities. Then came the real circus. Carolyn dragged out every step, demanding audits of silverware, forgetting critical documents, inventing fake joint accounts. Every delay cost me more money, which was the entire point. She wasn't fighting to save our marriage. She was fighting to bleed me dry. Meanwhile, she paraded her affair partner around town like a prize poodle. Friends said they looked thrilled, while I paid my lawyer by the hour, and I realized, for Carolyn, this wasn't about love. It was about winning, and she didn't care who she destroyed to get there. Part 6. Bookstores, broken hearts, and something real. While Carolyn was busy making my bank account cry, I tried dipping a toe back into the dating world. Spoiler, it was a disaster. Tinder, Bumble, whatever. Every date felt emptier than the last. Casual hookups weren't me. I wasn't built for hollow goodbyes and meaningless mornings. One Saturday, desperate for anything real, I wandered into a dusty old bookstore downtown. Wooden floors, cats sleeping in the window, and that warm paper smell that hits you like nostalgia. I stood there like an idiot in the sci-fi section, completely lost in a sea of titles I couldn't pronounce. That's when I heard her laugh. Not a cruel laugh, a soft, amused chuckle. Emma. She stood there holding a book the size of a microwave, smiling at my confusion. We started talking about sci-fi, swapped favorite series, argued good-naturedly about Asimov versus space operas. 2 hours disappeared without me noticing. I asked for her number, hands shaking like I was 16 again. She gave it without hesitation. Our first date, I dropped the ball. I was going through a divorce with a woman who could give soap operas a run for their money. Emma didn't flinch. She just took a sip of her wine and said, "Thanks for being honest. We all have baggage." She was patient, funny, genuinely interested. No games, no walking on eggshells, just a real human being who actually wanted to know me. Not use me, not punish me, not bleed me dry. And for the first time in forever, I started to feel something terrifying. Hope. Part 7. Parking lots and psychosis. 5 months after meeting Emma, life finally felt normal again. We spent a lazy Saturday shopping, laughing, planning which bad movie to stream that night. The sun was setting, the parking lot buzzing with families and teenagers. Just another ordinary evening. Until I heard the engine. It roared like a wild animal. I turned just in time to see a car hurtling toward us, tires screaming. I yanked Emma's arm, but not fast enough. The bumper clipped her leg, and the sound of her bones snapping will haunt me until the day I die. Emma crumpled onto the pavement, sobbing in pain. I barely had time to shield her before the car reversed, smashing into parked vehicles, and came gunning for us again. This wasn't a drunk driver. This wasn't random. This was deliberate. Dragging Emma between two cars, I prayed I wasn't about to get us both killed. Metal crunched behind us as the attacker rammed the cars we hid between, alarms blaring. Into chaos. People screamed. Phones came out. It felt like the world shattered around us. And then she stepped out. Carolyn. Perfect hair, perfect makeup, blazer crisp like she was headed to a PTA meeting instead of attempted murder. Her expression? Calm, chillingly blank, like she'd just run errands, not tried to kill two people. She stalked toward us, high heels clicking against asphalt as if she wasn't inches away from a double homicide. And for the first time since I caught her cheating, I realized this wasn't anger anymore. This was pure, calculated hatred. Part 8. Handcuffs, Hospitals, and Horror. Before Carolyn could reach us, a bystander, some linebacker of a man, grabbed her and wrestled her to the ground. She fought like a feral cat, screaming and thrashing, still trying to get to us. Emma sobbed in my arms, her leg bent at a sickening angle, and I couldn't move fast enough to shield her from the chaos. Sirens split the air. First the ambulance, then the police. Carolyn was handcuffed, right there on the pavement, screeching at the top of her lungs about betrayal, about how it's only been a year, as if that justified attempted vehicular homicide. Emma was loaded into the ambulance, trying to smile through the agony, while I stayed behind to give my statement. Carolyn never stopped screaming, even as they shoved her into the back of a police cruiser. In her mind, she was still the victim, the betrayed wife, avenging her broken heart. But the delusion was staggering. Later, the DA would tell me the parking lot security footage was some of the clearest evidence she'd ever seen. Carolyn circling the lot like a shark, parking, waiting, fixing her lipstick in the rearview mirror. Then the calculated attack. There was no heat of the moment rage here. It was cold, methodical, premeditated murder. Just dressed up in designer clothes and a blowout, the woman who used to pack me lunches had transformed into someone who could calmly plan to kill me, and an innocent woman who just happened to love me better than she ever could. Part 9. The Courtroom Circus. The months leading up to the trial were brutal. Emma fought through surgeries and physical therapy while I burned through PTO days sitting in courtrooms. The prosecutor called it one of the clearest attempted murder cases she'd ever handled. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry at the honor. Security footage from 6 angles showed Carolyn stalking us, witnesses lined up like a parade, the soccer mom with groceries, the teenager with shaky phone footage, even a retired cop who tackled her. Each one destroyed any claim Carolyn had that this was just a mistake. Emma testified with her legs still in a cast, calm and strong despite everything. I told the jury about the texts, the cheating, the stalking, the slow descent from petty divorce games to full-blown madness. Carolyn sat there the whole time, dabbing at imaginary tears, playing the remorseful victim for the cameras. The jury didn't buy it. Guilty on all counts, reckless endangerment, aggravated assault, attempted murder. No sympathy left for the woman who fixed her lipstick before trying to kill someone. Then came sentencing. 12 years. 12 years. For planning and executing an attack that could have easily left 2 people dead. With good behavior, she might be out in less than 10. All that planning, all that hatred, and the system would still cut her a break. She even had the gall to turn to us in court and mumble an apology. Emma just stared her down, calm and steady, without giving her the satisfaction of a response. Part 10. Orange jumpsuits and empty hands. With Carolyn locked up, the divorce proceedings finally moved forward, and this time it was fast. She attended the hearings via video from prison, orange jumpsuit crisp and hair still somehow perfectly styled. Her lawyer, bless his desperate little heart, tried to argue for alimony, for a slice of my retirement, even for the house. The judge practically laughed him out of the courtroom. Carolyn got nothing, not half the house, not a penny of my 401k, not 1 dime of alimony. She got exactly what she entered the marriage with: her clothes, her personal items, and a prison commissary account where she could buy herself instant noodles and regret. The look on her face when the judge finalized it was pure rage. She had spent months dragging out the divorce, to bleed me dry, and in the end she walked away empty-handed. Emma and I moved out of the haunted old house. Too many ghosts there. We found a beautiful apartment closer to the city, with big windows and no memories of betrayal clinging to the walls. Emma's leg healed almost perfectly, and she never stopped joking that getting run over by my ex-wife was worth it because she got me out of it. Dark humor, but hey, whatever gets you through attempted murder. For the first time in years, life felt light again. No screaming matches, no fake smiles, just books, coffee, sci-fi marathons, and someone who actually chose me, not someone who kept me as a backup plan. Part 11. New Chapters and Loaded Lessons. Emma healed like a warrior. You'd barely know her leg had ever been shattered unless you caught the faintest limp when she's tired. She jokes that getting hit by a car was a fair trade to upgrade from casual Tinder disasters to real love. Dark humor suits her. It suits both of us now. We settled into our new life, slowly, cautiously. Trust was something I had to relearn, even when it was with someone who actually deserved it. Emma never rushed me, never flinched when the old panic hit. She just stayed steady and real. We're planning a wedding for next spring. Small, simple, none of the performative nonsense Carolyn obsessed over. Real vows this time. Real promises. Real love. You know, one really couldn't make this stuff up. I can't decide whether the universe is trolling or sincere. Probably both, but dig this. Emma's father, a retired firearms instructor, insisted we both get concealed carry permits. It wasn't about fear. It was about never being caught helpless again. We trained together, laughing over terrible aim and bettering ourselves week by week. It wasn't about paranoia. It was about refusing to live scared because of someone else's insanity. Carolyn? She'll be out eventually. Probably still painting herself as the victim, still blaming everyone but the woman in the mirror. But it doesn't matter anymore. The day she drove into that parking lot, she thought she was ending my life. Instead, she accidentally set me free. Funny how monsters lose all their power once you stop being afraid of them and start writing your own ending instead. Conclusion: the final twist I didn't see coming. About a year after Carolyn traded suburban soccer mom life for orange jumpsuits and prison chow, another bombshell dropped. Turns out, she had been pregnant during the trial. Yeah, somehow in between plotting murders and throwing tantrums, she managed to conceive a child. With Andrew. You remember Andrew, the guy I caught her in bed with? Turns out, he's not just some random sleazebag. Andrew is actually a decent guy. Hell, he might be a saint compared to what I married. Carolyn, being the demon-spawned black hole of decency that she is, decided not to tell me. She didn't want me to know the baby might have been mine. You know, in case she could find one last way to ruin my life on the way out. Classy to the end. But Andrew? He waited. Patiently, quietly, refused to stir up drama. He didn't want to wreck my relationship with Emma over a maybe baby. He waited until the baby was born, waited for the DNA test, and only then told me. And when he told me the baby wasn't mine, I honestly felt more gratitude than words could ever cover. He protected my peace better than my own wife ever did. I even asked him for a photo because, what can I say? I love babies. The baby? Absolutely adorable, like Hallmark movie cute. Bright eyes, tiny fingers, pure joy. Hard to believe something so perfect came from a creature even Lilith would call a worthy rival. Life's funny like that. Monsters can create beauty, but they'll never understand it. Thanks for sticking around through this insane roller coaster of betrayal, attempted murder, court drama, and, somehow, a little bit of hope at the end. If you enjoyed the ride, or at least appreciated not being the one hit by a car, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and stay tuned for more wild stories. Your support means the world, seriously. Without you all tuning in, I'd just be yelling into the void about exes who make Disney villains look relatable. Stay safe out there. Trust your gut, and if your partner ever suggests an open relationship after 3 glasses of wine, maybe run. Until next time, Ted, leaving the building.